Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto has Lucifer bloodline in high school DxD. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by HaruOmnipotent and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. In a nationwide battlefield, the ground was strewn with lifeless bodies, grotesquely mangled into horrors that would induce even the most unhinged person to vomit in disgust. From torn body parts and charred remains to crucified corpses, it was a disturbing tableau. Amidst this macabre scene stood a young man in his early 20s, with light silver hair interwoven with strands of crimson that framed his mature, strong face. His purple and gold eyes exhibited absolute boredom and a pale complexion. Beneath dark gray, almost black, form-fitting, high-collared royal tunics, he wore black armor. The ensemble was completed with a regal-looking cape that draped over his broad and strong shoulders. "Me Prince, Lucifer-sama has requested your presence." A man with spiky silver hair, one eye covered by an eye patch, and a mask concealing his face bowed to Naruto. He was Kakashi Lucifuge, the mentor and bodyguard of the crown prince, though his father would argue otherwise. Naruto regarded the man for a few seconds, nodded, and then created a magic circle, disappearing in a black and misty whirl. The Lucifer Castle, otherwise known as Lucifer's Satinel, and yes, Lucifer named his castle after his eldest son's second name, and his biblical name, stood proudly. The castle was not merely big, the term enormous fell short. Constructed with blackstone enchanted by the strongest spells, it featured several statues of wyverns perched atop the valley of brimstone and lava that surrounded it. Massive black gates and towering walls guarded the castle. Naruto materialized before the guards eyed them briefly, and in a burst of pure speed, he vanished. "You called, father?" Naruto walked into the throne room that his father currently occupied. He shared the same features as his father, though he lacked the crimson strands, and his father's eyes burned with pure red, filled with both pride and hatred for anyone who dared to cross him. Lucifer noticed his son, and for the first time, he rose from his throne. "Yes, I have a task for you, a task I'm sure you'll enjoy." A smirk found its way onto Naruto's pale but cherry lips. "May I ask what it is?" Naruto questioned as he crossed his arms over his chest. "The 4 archangels are moving now. My informant said they were seen surrounding Azalia, the Grigori's main base or city," Lucifer said, observing his son whose smirk turned into a full-blown maniacal grin. "The task? Take out as many angels and fallen as you can and maybe kill some higher-ranking members. It will be done." Azalia, Grigori's main base. Azalia was currently in a state of war between fallen and angels. The angels attacked Azalia with the command of taking out the fallen, but Azazel predicted this and tasked his 2 cadres to accompany him into battle. Light magic was thrown around like it was a party. Explosions and destruction ran wild in the now ruined city of the fallen angels. Many corpses of both fallen and angels lay within the destroyed ground. The battle had been raging for over a day now, and neither side had the clear advantage. Many were dying as a result. The 4 archangels were mostly suffering from cuts and exhaustion. The same could be said for the 2 cadres, Barrakiel and Kokabil, along with their leader, Azazel. "Isn't this amusing?" Azazel chortled with a smirk. Michael only looked at him with a grimace. Suddenly the two felt it. They had felt it before. Pure hatred and chaos mixed with a hatred that seemed to boil with every second. They sensed a lust for destruction and chaos, unmistakably the bloodlust of a particular individual. Lucifer's bloodlust was not this potent. This bloodlust was far more than just that. It was the raw and unfiltered craving for violence, and an insatiable need for never-ending destruction. Only one person could evoke such feelings in the 2 leaders: Naruto, Lucifer's Lucifer, malice reincarnate. Raphael, Uriel, Gabriel, Barrakiel, and Kokabil all sensed it too. They turned to see their leaders blown away by a massive wave of pure darkness. Raphael, ever quick to react, dashed forward, readying his fist with holy light. However, he felt a pain burying deep within his chest. Naruto punched him without even trying, and he was blown back with such force that it destroyed a nearby mountain range. "Now, this is what I call war!" Naruto shouted and lunged forward, delivering a kick coated with darkness. The remaining beings all tried but failed to evade the incoming attack and got kicked in the face, sending them all flying. "Ha ha 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 ha!" The absolute maniacal laughter of Naruto boomed into the distance as he prepared one of his daggers, the Abyss Eater. "Give me my entertainment, you mongrels!" Naruto surged towards Kokabil with the intent of delivering a downward slash that would bisect him if he didn't move away. Luckily for him, he managed it in time, only getting a slash on his face. The agonizing pain that the dagger caused, though, was not worth it. "You fucking bastard! I'm going to snap your neck and eat your heart out!" Kokabil roared with absolute fury. He saw black and blurred towards a still Naruto. Kokabil's clawed hands reached for Naruto, only to grab at nothing. He felt a pain, an all too familiar pain in his back, as Naruto delivered a roundhouse kick, sending him flying. Naruto was not done. He slashed down, and a bolt of purple-on-black lightning struck Kokabil. Michael suddenly appeared behind Naruto, poised to stab his back, and he let him. Michael thought that he had delivered a devastating wound to Naruto, but when he looked up, he only saw an extra arm protecting Naruto's back. Naruto gave him a cruel and sadistic smirk. You think I won't notice it? Oh, great Michael-sama, Naruto mocked, and his back arm tugged at Michael's sword, destroying it. He then delivered a punch to Michael's guts, followed by sending the now flying Michael into the air. Naruto summoned his second dagger, the Dark Heavens, in his other hand. Dual-wielding both daggers, he slashed in an X pattern on Michael's chest, sending a gush of blood through the air. Then, Naruto chanted the words necessary for his technique. Plundering darkness, void abyss, dual dragon, light extermination, dominate the world. A massive bolt of lightning mixed with Naruto's blood flame made contact on Michael as the leader of the Seraph got burned and electrocuted. Big brother Michael, the voice of the second strongest Seraph rang inside Naruto's ears as he spotted the remaining Seraph and cadre standing. He left Michael alive because he wanted to face somewhat of a good opponent in the near future, along with Azazel, but those 5 would have to die. You 5 are next in line. Naruto pointed both of his daggers as he summoned the rest of his daggers, the illuminating shadow and tri-darkness. He commanded the 4 daggers to face the opponents, and blast forward with a speed that they only reacted to with pure luck. The daggers retreated back to Naruto as he commanded them to create a circle with their tips facing each other. Then, he prepared his most destructive attack yet. Massive waves of demonic power swirled through, and fired instantly. The blast was too strong even when they created high-tier barrier magic to defend, they only went so far. A massive explosion rocked the whole city of Azazel as the city was reduced to ash along with the entire fallen and angel army that was currently battling. In a burst of pure speed, Azazel created a massive long sword made of light and delivered a slash into Naruto's back. To his shock, it only made a cut. Then he saw the face of the madman who single-handedly destroyed them, a smirk telling him he was about to get his shit rocked. Amusing at best, Naruto's 4 daggers stabbed Azazel's front, and in a quick show of speed, Naruto slashed Azazel's entire body, sending a gout of blood. Dissector. The battle was over. Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, Raphael, Barakiel, Kokabil, and Azazel lay defeated on the ground, battered and bloodied. Naruto's maniacal grin disappeared as his smile turned into a frown of disappointment. Were these the same angels who defeated his father? These pathetic doves and crows? It was amusing at best, to be honest. The disappointing part was that his father warned him always of Michael, the supposed angel who defeated his father. He thought that he would at least get a fight, but only disappointing frauds of flying mongrels were all he had seen. A flash of white and silver light almost made Naruto cover his hands. But he didn't. He sensed the man's power, the only man who could hopefully give him a proper fight. The one and only biblical god. Well, hello, young Lucifer. As Naruto turned around, he saw the biblical god donning golden and white royal robes, misty golden eyes, golden on silver hair, and a tan complexion. The power emanating was formidable, evident in Naruto's expression shifting from boredom to a grin reminiscent of the previous battle. Well, the Almighty has come at last, Naruto mocked, summoning his last dagger, the ominous wind. 5 daggers levitated smoothly in the air as devil and god faced each other, either willing to make a move. God eyed him once and calmly stated, I only came here to collect my children, nothing more. I don't want to kill Lucifer's first son. Naruto's grin transformed into a feral snarl as he lunged toward God with one of his daggers, but God defended effortlessly with a single finger. Full of rage, Naruto unleashed a powerful blast of fire magic, incinerating everything in its path. The fields turned black, revealing flowing lava. Naruto tripled his speed, attempting to grab God's hand and fling him into the air. However, God, anticipating the move, released a massive spear of light at Naruto, which was promptly destroyed upon contact in Naruto's darkened hands. What power! Naruto exclaimed, prepared to unleash his version 1 assault mode on his formidable opponent. His heterochromia eyes turned blood red, 2 additional eyes emerged beneath the original ones, his attire shredded, creating 2 extra arms below the original pair, and a mouth formed on his belly. Naruto grasped 3 daggers, sealing the last one. Darkness and thunder crackled through the blades as he readied to confront God in his first stage. God, however, maintained a grimacing expression that irked Naruto, fueling his rage. Suddenly, Naruto felt the impact of 10,000 punches in just 0.1 seconds. God adjusted his posture as if nothing occurred, but Naruto understood the true force. Snarling in rage, Naruto unleashed a slash, sending violent electric crackles toward God, who countered with his own light magic. The powerful attacks collided, revealing a golden misty gaze in God's eyes. Seeing an opportunity, Naruto summoned his last dagger, and unleashed his blood flame, combining it with the daggers. God, unable to react in time, was struck directly. Despite his defenses, he survived with only minor cuts. Naruto persisted in his attack, summoning tentacles of darkness to slice through God. However, the Almighty countered with a well-placed light barrier. God observed Naruto advancing, armed with only 2 daggers and a strange hand sign formed with his additional arms. Smirking, Naruto employed one of his abilities to counter God. He acknowledged that without high-tier to God-tier spells, he wouldn't have survived the earlier attack. With this newfound ability, Naruto could now engage the Almighty on equal grounds. Adaptation, the ability to simply adapt to anything and everything that Naruto found to be a danger to him. Naruto moved forward with the speed that surpassed his previous one. God tried to deliver a quick jab on Naruto, but when the jab was made it did little damage on Naruto's stomach. The damage was healed in an instant and Naruto retaliated with a swing kick that released a massive gust of wind that cut through the nearby mountain top. Not bad, old geezer, Naruto muttered under his breath as he unsummoned all his daggers, preparing another wave of darkness. He launched the wave, and it collided with a wave of radiant light, causing massive explosions everywhere. In the smoke, Naruto and the Almighty engaged in a brutal display of martial arts. Naruto delivered kicks, punches, and jabs in quick succession, while God countered with his own, making it hard for Naruto to land a permanent hit. The Almighty felt his powers slowly having no effect on Naruto due to his adaptation. He quickly used a different type of magic to counter it, but again, God experienced that same sensation, the feeling of adaptation working, adjusting to anything thrown at Naruto. The ability to adapt to anything, it's a rare sight to see, God mused while blocking another punch and kick from Naruto. I can see all his movements before he even does it, but what is this feeling of my future sight slowly wavering? Is the adaptation ability also working on my future sight? God used lightning magic, summoning golden magical circles and launching them at Naruto. The bolts of lightning were countered by Naruto's own magic as he summoned a black magic circle that produced purple and dark lightning bolts. Naruto quickly moved behind God, attempting to slice him with a blade made of darkness. However, in the seconds he saw the move, God turned around and summoned a light sword. Their blades clashed, sending sparks through the battlefield. I'm slowly losing even with the adaptation ability that I use. God has too many forms of magic to use on me. This battle will go on forever, Naruto thought. He was getting overwhelmed by God's various types of magic, and his adaptation ability could only go so far. His reserves were slowly getting consumed, and assault mode was not a viable option with Naruto throwing around high to God tier spells in his arsenal. The battle raged on for more than a few hours, and Naruto was exhausted, but he was not going to lose. Losing here meant death, so he pushed himself to break his limits. With 20% of his reserves left, Naruto exited assault mode as he had adapted to most of God's moves and techniques, deciding not to rely on that mode to survive. Naruto made the decision to conserve his magic and match God in hand-to-hand combat. The better part of this was spent in a fist battle. Naruto chose this option to conserve his reserves and keep God on his toes, so to speak. The Almighty jumped back to create distance as he saw his children slowly rise from the rubble and take a fighting stance to aid their father. Naruto, seeing this, released a sigh and readied himself to face the fight of his life. Crimson glowing eyes shifted from person to person as Naruto chanted spells to recover a tiny bit of his reserves. Light merged with darkness, darkness that envelopes light, consuming life through death, 4 pillars. Naruto gained a little bit of his reserves as he disappeared in a blur and appeared right in front of Raphael, kicking him again in the temple. Michael, as fast as he could, blocked the attack, sending a shiver into his arm. Raphael shouted, "Brother!" only for Michael to raise a hand and reassure him. Uriel, seeing that Naruto was distracted, kicked him on the side, earning a wince from Naruto. He retaliated quickly, sending a gout of darkness that shaped into a spike, almost piercing Uriel in the process. Gabriel summoned her wings to fly towards Naruto and blasted him with a barrage of light beams, which he managed to dodge at the last second. This little family is getting too troublesome for my taste, Naruto grunted in annoyance, as he dodged a flaming sword swing courtesy of Uriel and managed to evade a spin kick delivered in the air by Michael. Absolutely amazing. Naruto grabbed them both and threw them around, but God, along with Raphael and Gabriel, dashed towards him. With their combined effort they kicked, slashed, and punched Naruto in several places, dropping both Michael and Uriel in the process. Naruto's regenerative ability was doing its work, but now his regeneration was taking a lot longer. The light punches, kicks, and slashes were not fun to deal with. Naruto grunted again and circled the angel faction at speeds even Michael found challenging to keep up with. He summoned Tri-Darkness and sent a massive bolt of lightning towards them to distract them for a bit. "Brother Michael," Gabriel shouted from the smoke. Luckily for them, their father made a shield to protect them. However, Gabriel noticed that Raphael and Uriel were missing. They all looked up and saw Naruto completely dominating both Raphael and Uriel in aerial hand-to-hand combat. The 3 of them flew into the air, and God kicked Naruto away from his 2 children. Naruto blocked with his arms, only moving back by 20 meters in the air. Blurring in sight again, Naruto made a beeline for God and kicked him below the ground, creating a massive hole in the earth. Panting in exhaustion, Naruto only looked at the angels and God with a face of annoyance and impatience. He heard God speak up for the first time during their fight. "Young Lucifer, I'm impressed that you made it this far, facing me and my 4 archangels in a stalemate. But this is where you draw the line, young one. You cannot win. So, I'm going to give you one last chance to back down and leave in peace. However, if you reject this, I have no choice but to defeat you," God said. The words made Naruto cringe, and pure rage overtook him, clouding his judgment. Fuming with rage and hatred, Naruto dashed towards the still God. His arm transformed into claws, making a grabbing motion towards God. However, before he could hit, Naruto blacked out. Naruto Lucifer faced defeat and match against the angels and God. On the ground lay Naruto, battered, beaten, and left bloodied by God and his 4 archangels. It had been a few hours since the battle had ended. Kakashi, who had just arrived at the site, searched for Naruto with the command from his father to bring him to the castle to heal. He saw the familiar silver and crimson hair of Lucifer's heir and, in a burst of speed, appeared at the location. The cuts and beaten form of his prince left Kakashi wincing. Lucifer was going to lose it if he ever saw his son in this state. Using what little he knew about healing magic, Kakashi healed Naruto. His wounds and cuts closed up, but the signs were still there. Grabbing the young prince and carrying him by his shoulder, Kakashi prepared a silver magic circle to teleport out. Yet he heard the voice of Azazel. I guess the brat got his ass handed to him by the old man, and badly at that, the governor mused as he suddenly appeared a distance away. He commanded his 2 cadre to fall back since they woke up and saw the fight between God and Naruto. Azazel only observed and didn't interfere because, for once, he didn't want his ass to get beaten more than it already was. It seems that way, old friend. Kakashi looked at the fallen angel who smirked and flashed away to meet his cadre. Proper training must be done before Naruto could ever hope to meet his true potential, and I have to work on his attitude, were the last thoughts of Kakashi as a silvery light enveloped the 2 of them, and with a flash of white and silver they were gone. Lucifer paced back and forth within the confines of the throne room, anxiously waiting for Kakashi to bring him his son. It had been 8 hours since Naruto left the castle, and exactly 5 minutes ago, he sent Kakashi to find him. The king of the devils was sure that Naruto would survive the encounter. Hell, he heard the reports that Naruto gave the 4 archangels, Azazel, and his 2 cadre an absolute beating. The main concern, though, was the presence of his father. He felt it. The sudden drop in magical power of his son, and God's enormous strength, made him fear for his son's safety, and his own image. Naruto was seen as the pinnacle of all devil kind, the pinnacle of demonic power. If the devils ever saw their prince lose, Lucifer was sure that some of them would lose faith in Naruto, and Lucifer couldn't have that. So, he tasked Kakashi to find his son and bring him back to the castle. Then, the familiar seal of the Lucifuge clan appeared, and Lucifer saw Kakashi carrying a broken and battered Naruto. Lucifer's hands twitched in anger and hatred, his already crimson eyes burning a molten color with fury, glowing and radiating power beyond belief. The entirety of the underworld felt the tremors and feared for their lives as their king was angry for whatever reason. Gritting his teeth, Lucifer spoke to Kakashi in a cold and anger-filled voice. What happened to my son? The father of all devils muttered in a low, guttural voice that made Kakashi wince in fear. Standing straight, Kakashi looked at the anger-filled face of Lucifer and spoke, Your Majesty, Prince Naruto was defeated by God and his archangels in combat. The prince is okay and just needs medical treatment. Still, Lucifer's anger never lessened. Instead, it intensified 1,000-fold. Ha-ha-ha-yeah. Lucifer's hand swiped at the throne, sending a wave of darkness that destroyed it, leaving the throne as an ashen mess. Bring Lilith here. Now! Lucifer's voice barked, and Kakashi was already gone along with Naruto's still form. At once, Your Majesty. After a minute had passed, Lucifer took some calming breaths and created a throne to replace his destroyed one. This throne was now composed of pure darkness that swirled within the non-existent wind, shaping and bending erratically. He saw Lilith walking up to the throne, and through his crimson eyes, he could see that his wife's eyes were dangerously glowing. Her golden eyes that once reflected kindness now glowed with anger. What did I tell you? Not to go and parade our child and use him as a fucking weapon, you fucking imbecile, Lilith bellowed at Lucifer, who stood his ground and glared at his wife. You don't have a fucking say in this matter, you stupid fucking woman. He is my son and my heir. Lucifer got up and lost his composure, shattered into a million pieces as he walked towards his wife and backhanded her across the face. With reddened cheeks, Lilith was about to slap Lucifer when a feeling of dread washed over them. They both saw Naruto standing at the entrance, his mismatched eyes transformed into molten swirls of gold and red with slit pupils as he glared at his father. Touch my mother, and you'll lose your fucking hand. Naruto's low voice echoed throughout the room, and his powers were rising by the minute. Darkness billowed out of his injured form, and within a matter of seconds, all his injuries were healed. The burning and still fresh memory of the defeat he suffered from God, combined with the fact that his father backhanded his mother, whom he loved more than anything else in the world, could send someone as unpredictable as Naruto to the edge of blowing the entire underworld to ash. Glaring at his son, Lucifer spoke in his demonic voice, You. Stay out of this. It does not concern you. Gritting his teeth, Naruto released his full demonic powers. Darkness enveloped Naruto, his nails formed into claws, and his molten-colored eyes glowed with power. The entire underworld, along with heaven and Grigori, felt at Naruto's true power, his true potential unleashed and unfiltered for all to sense and see. Last warning, father, release my mother, and you'll keep your head on your shoulders. Deep within Naruto, his emotions were erratically dancing with both hatred and sadness. Seeing his parents fight over him and witnessing his father lay hands on his beloved mother created a complexity of emotions that caused a dramatic surge of power reflecting what he truly felt: sadness, anger, loneliness, and depression. On one hand, he cared and loved his parents very much, and it pained him to see them in this state. He was confused about what to do and what actions he should take. His words tried to convey it, but his heart and soul wouldn't agree. The teachings of his parents clouded his judgment and clear thinking, leading to the unleashing of his powers. The entire world and existence were shaking. Even the great beast sensed a power to match theirs, the raw and endless sea of power sensed within one devil. Naruto's angered state allowed him to tap into his true powers and potential, but his emotions were a mess, a power to destroy all of existence as we know it, placed under someone who couldn't control his emotions and sense of mind. A yellow magic circle with a Bale clan seal appeared, and out stepped Zekrom Bale, the first Bale to ever exist. His purple eyes zoomed in on Naruto as he examined the situation and how it started. Based on Lady Lilith's reddened cheeks, he understood what happened. The prince was angered, and due to his recent loss, couldn't contain it anymore and exploded. Your Majesty, what happened? Playing the fool, Zekrom questioned Lucifer, but Lucifer's voice was choked out by fear. The fear that he might get himself killed by his own son, and the fear of the power he was releasing, even darker, more destructive, and chaotic than his own. Calming his nerves, Lucifer stood, albeit strained. Aye, this power is too much, Zekrom agreed, even though he didn't exactly get an answer he could understand from Lucifer's shocked and fearful face. Glancing towards his creator, Zekrom gently supported Lilith and tried to prevent her from getting too close to her unstable child. The darkness was getting more potent by the minute. But Lilith didn't care and blasted Zekrom with a concentrated magic blast. Lilith ran towards her son and hugged him. My baby boy, you need to calm down. See, I'm not hurt, so you can lower your powers, please. I beg of you, Lilith pleaded as Naruto, with his molten glowing eyes, glanced at his mother and saw her face filled with tears and hurt. This man, he hurt you. He is also my father. I couldn't hurt him. He is my father. I'm confused. Mother, please, I need help. Naruto's dark form vanished, and he collapsed onto the ground. His emotional state was a mess, and he couldn't think properly. Glancing towards Lucifer, Lilith spoke up. I'm taking our son to his bedchambers, and don't you dare disturb him. You already caused him enough pain as it is. With that, Lilith vanished in a flash of silver light. Collapsing onto his rear, Lucifer stuttered to make words. His fear was still on full blast, and he couldn't think properly. That power is similar to when father was in his prime. Lucifer's thoughts were clouded by those words. Zekrom, seeing his creator leave, also planned to depart and go back to his castle. However, he took a quick glance at Lucifer and saw his eyes display, for the first time, a mixture of awe, fear, and admiration. Vanishing in a flash, Lucifer was left only to himself, pondering his son's true potential. The truest power that can ever be held by a devil, the power of the abyss. Blackness, that was all Naruto could see as far as his eyes went, an endless pit of the void covering him. It was like a sea of nothingness from which he couldn't escape. The void he placed himself in, a persona created to satisfy both of his parents' views. It was a void filled with nothing but despair and depression. Naruto felt like the void itself, a mere cog in a system. His void was circled by an identity crisis, the desire to create an identity for himself, but his views and upbringing prevented Naruto from doing that. Those feelings, he felt the feeling of that girl who radiated kindness beyond belief. What was her name again? He forgot the name, but those enchanting emerald irises stirred something in him, a foreign feeling in his soul that he couldn't describe. Of course, Naruto didn't feel it in the heat of battle. When he passed out, he saw that glimmer, that radiance in her, the solemn expression. Naruto should be angry and disgusted upon seeing that facial expression, but something in his soul told him it was the right thing. What was that feeling? Naruto wondered if his body was still wandering in the void of emotional turmoil he created for himself. Well, he still is. Naruto wants to see that expression again, that same expression he saw coming from her, and that radiance around him. Naruto wants to wrap that radiance around his body, to know what radiance she possesses that attracted him to her. Why do I feel this way? I'm confused. His prone body was thinking on its own, and the young prince of the underworld pondered that same question. What was that feeling he felt when she saw him? Naruto wants to figure it out and see the outcome. Who am I kidding? I'm trapped here. I won't be able to ever wake up from this. The sadness and bitterness that Naruto spoke was surprising. He was trapped here for all of eternity, living in this void of nothingness he calls his emotions. He saw his own image, the face of a devil that sought endless chaos and destruction in the world just to please himself. He heard his image speak and made him cringe. Why not just tap into that power and let loose? Like father always wants us to do. Why did you hold back? You lose because you held back. Pathetic. The words rang through his mind like drums playing non-stop awful tones. Too loud, his heterochromatic eyes snapped open and bled a deep, vicious crimson as his lips twisted into a snarl. The image started to laugh hard, with a voice full of chaotic thoughts. Let me out, and I will show those mongrels the very concept of destruction and despair. We will show those insufferable fools what it means to be strong. The absolute strongest with our power. We will dominate and conquer existence. Not even the three beasts can stop us. The voice, with every word, seemed to be laced with destruction and chaos. Those words were chilling him to the very bone of his existence. Be gone already. Just like that, the voice vanished without a trace. Naruto realized there was no voice. He had been talking and arguing with himself. Naruto stared at the emptiness that was his soul and just stood there, doing nothing. His last thought was of his voice. His voice. Why did he hold back? Why? Why? Heaven, Abrahamic Pantheon, seventh heaven, God's throne room. The grand palace of heaven was built by the Almighty God himself, large pillars made of gold glowing with light, and the massive throne, crafted from the strongest metal known to man, stood at the pinnacle of existence, the center of the universe. God's throne, the very thing that Lucifer wanted but couldn't attain. The current God stood before his daughter, the Archangel Gabriel, known by many names like Seraph Gabriel, strongest female, God's daughter, the pinnacle of angelic kindness. She was a beautiful woman with long, curly golden blonde hair, warm emerald green eyes, a voluptuous figure, a large bosom, slim waist, and wearing a golden and blue breastplate. Underneath was a white and gold dress. She was the most beautiful woman in existence, the embodiment of beauty, kindness, caring, and love. God looked at his daughter and smiled kindly, gesturing for her to stand from her kneeling position. What's troubling you, child? Gabriel stood and faced God, an expression of confusion on her face. I've been troubled ever since that battle at Azazel. I don't know what to do. I felt his emotions, but I'm very confused about why he's feeling that way. Gabriel was troubled, and God knew it. His daughter was a smart individual. Even when they were first created, Gabriel was the one who recognized him first and started calling him father. May I know what that emotion was? Emotions, father. I felt different kinds of emotions from him when I saw him fall. Gabriel's words were heard by God, and the Almighty pondered her daughter's reply. After a moment, God stood from his throne and gestured for Gabriel to follow him. While walking, God continued to dissect the thoughts of Gabriel. It was interesting. What did Gabriel see in those eyes? Well, God already knows. As an omniscient being, he already knows the outcome of this war, and it's not a pretty good outcome in his opinion. You already know it. Father. Gabriel's voice cut God off from his own musings. The Almighty looked at her daughter and nodded, but he replied, yes, I know already, but it's different coming from the mouth who sensed it. Tell me, daughter, what are those emotions you felt from him? Gabriel's emerald green eyes focused for a moment and replied, sadness, anger, loneliness, confusion, longing and love. I don't know, Father, this is the first time I've been confused over emotion. Gabriel's response was expected. She was the messenger of God and the only one who inherited his emotion-sensing ability. Although God admitted that her daughter's emotion-sensing was far better than his, she could see through even well-hidden emotions. Childlike though she may be, Gabriel was one of the more experienced angels in the department of sensing and understanding the emotions of all living beings. Gabriel, child, I said this before, and I will say it again, you are the only one who can understand those feelings. You inherited my ability for sensing emotions for a reason. Understand him, know him, converse with him. I know deep down he is a good and kind child, terribly misguided. Both of his parents' ideals confused him. Lucifer only wants Naruto to become a weapon and a tool for devils, seeing him as the pinnacle of their race. Lilith, although with good intentions, misguided him on how love works. Even though Lilith deeply cared for Naruto, the part of her remains that Lucifer only wedded her to give birth to an heir, so her resentment towards him kept her from giving her son true maternal love. Naruto can sense it. He loves his parents with all his soul and mind, obeying their every command and wishing for them to be proud of him. God's words shocked Gabriel. Was Naruto just a terribly misguided individual? Or is there something deeper than that? Gabriel wants to know more. God continued his explanation to Gabriel before Gabriel could even say a word. Lilith taught him to care and feel bad for others, but she mostly taught him that so he wouldn't become like his father. Lilith only understood it a few days ago. You sensed it too, right? With Gabriel's nod, the Almighty continued, Naruto is not a normal devil. Born from the union of Lilith, who was not an Angeli, created her to represent the abyss. The power that resides within her is only to contain the abyss, not control it. Somehow, Naruto took that from her and made the abyss his own, like a domain. He is the abyss itself, an embodiment. Gabriel should be surprised, but he was too stunned to do anything. She could only gape at the words her father just said. The power of the abyss, a force that dwarfs that of any living beings inside Draconic Deus. The abyss exists in a higher form of dimension, above all the three realms. That was the reason why God, her father, was weakened so much to the point that he lost 70% of his original powers just to keep the abyss from swallowing the three realms asunder. Ophis and Great Red helped also, considering that even the dimensional gap, a gap in space and time where nothing could exist, could be destroyed. To the angels, that period was known as the Void Era. If Naruto managed to release his restrictions, the seal would break, and existence itself would cease. You're worrying too much, daughter. The abyss resides within him, yes, but if Naruto's emotions were the key to unlocking that power, maybe his emotions will be the key to controlling the power of the abyss, God said as he ruffled the curly hair of his daughter, eliciting a pout from her. What if he doesn't? Ah, that what if scenario. Well, God has a good answer to that. I'm an omniscient being, daughter. Even now, reality is changing every second. I know it because I already know and have seen it. We will trust the young Lucifer. You're praising a devil, father, Baha. Yes, but I'm not so bitter about it. As the two kept walking, God saw an endless amount of future in a second. He smiled as he saw a particular future ahead, even now knowing that his time in the living world was coming to an end. He was still excited to see the outcome. The future will be both shrouded in darkness and light, were the thoughts of God as Gabriel dragged him to get some food. Naruto was still floating in the ever-expanding abyss of his emotions, drowned by confusion and depression. Was this it? He felt time pass by in a matter of seconds, but he knew that 30 years had passed since his defeat. Was this the end for him? The question angered and made Naruto despair even more. The thought of lying still, alive but unmoving, breathing but unable to utter a single word. He knew his surroundings but couldn't do anything. He was trapped in his own abyss, so to speak. I've been in this place for too long. Why wouldn't my body respond to what I'm saying? Naruto's voice echoed through the endless void. He didn't know if this was the result of some seal, perhaps the doing of God. Naruto kept thinking and thinking until he screamed in frustration. Well, aren't you moping around again? That damned voice was mocking him once more. Naruto was sick and tired of this endless and pointless conversation he was having with himself. Why not just end it? Kill him, destroy him, wanted out, utterly useless, couldn't even get out of his own damn mind. How cute, the voice hissed with a laugh, sending Naruto into a frustrated state. Naruto snorted at the last part, says the guy who literally is trapped with me. He crossed his arms and looked far into the void. He saw his own emotions running rampant, and trying to find their purposes in his existence. Mother has given birth again. This one strained her. I don't think she would be able to give birth to more devils after this point, Naruto thought as he again sensed a familiar signature enter his room with a new one. He sensed his father's and mother's magical signature on the young devil. He was now a big brother. The thought made Naruto wonder. The babe was weak. His signature only surpassed his father's by 5 times, while he surpassed his father's by an immeasurable amount. To be perfectly honest with himself, Naruto was disappointed in his little brother already. It was a harsh and cold truth that he was already disappointed by his brother. His little brother's name was Rizavim Levon Lucifer, a cool name, but Naruto gave it a 6 out of 10. Taking a deep and concentrated breath, Naruto focused on his inner psyche again. He was searching for something to drive himself out of this comatose state he was in. He sensed shadows and darkness swirling around him, like a never-ending flow of water. It was oddly comforting to him, like the same feeling he felt from that blonde woman, warm, safe, and loving. Had that last word made Naruto snort in amusement. Love? It was a pitiful concept his father drilled in that love is worthless, so Naruto believed that was true. But Lilith showed him love, maternal love. He couldn't understand what to feel, but again, he wanted to control and further extend his knowledge about emotions and how to control them. As Kakashi once said, control thy emotions. The abyss and darkness started to dance in sync with his soul. The once darkened soul was opening up and welcoming the abyss. Yes, this was it, the first step to understanding emotions, to accept a part of him that he suppressed a long time ago. His abyss, his own powers, the sheer raw power emanating from him was scary. Now he understood why he had hidden it away for so long. The animalistic urge to devour anything and anyone he saw it was primal and untamed, just like him. Even though his more malevolent half would be forever a part of him, he was slowly taming those urges, but they screamed to be let out, to run wild, and to destroy existence. Now, he could control it, see it, sense it, feel the very presence of the power of abyss flowing through his veins. He now understood it. The abyss was not meant to destroy. It was meant to swallow anything it touched and consume it, transforming it into raw power that he could use. The power of darkness he inherited from his father was perfectly in line with the abyss. With the raw power of the abyss and the adaptability of darkness, he felt a true form of darkness and abyss combined into one. True abyss. Lilith was just minding her own business, taking care of her newborn and waiting for her beloved son to wake up from the coma that he was in, and she suddenly dropped to the ground and almost dropped young Rizavim. She quickly caught the baby and secured him to her chest. She sensed that power belonged to her eldest, and said eldest suppressed it a long time ago, and it was released. It was too overwhelming for her. She was barely clinging to her consciousness, and was struggling to breathe normally. It was suffocating and scary at the same time, but this time it felt more controlled and relaxed than the last time her son released it. She saw her husband appear and he was the same as her in this moment, scared and panicked. He probably sensed it. No, scratch that. Lucifer sensed it. That power was not something that any being in draconic dais could comprehend. Only God could. And that was when the Almighty was in his prime. And that was stretching it. The abyss was the true end of all things that exist and will exist. It was the true nothingness of creation. Lilith, Lucifer muttered, his husband's tone trembling with fear. Lilith eyed her husband for a moment and replied, Naruto released the seal. It has been unleashed. Grigori rebuild HQ of the fallen angels. Drinking wine, Azazel was reading through the reports of his subordinates and scanning them more thoroughly, because now, 30 years ago, when God defeated the pinnacle of devilkind, Naruto, for the first time he saw God struggle, and he sensed the force of the abyssal pulse that surged through their cataclysmic battle. So Azazel researched as hard as he could, even going as far as tasking one of his more bloodthirsty commanders to manage the war for now because he needed Barakil and Shamhazai on standby. Azazel tried to understand the concept, but each year he was getting nowhere, and he was starting to get frustrated. He knew the abyss. Of course, Azazel was once a pure angel. He saw his father, God, seal the damn thing and lose 70% of his original powers. He knows that the abyss is the true end of ends, the nothingness to the nothingness. It was a blackness that is even blacker than darkness itself. And then a pressure like none other bared himself onto Azazel, a force of immeasurable power that pounded him like a hammer hitting his head. His violet eyes widened in surprise, and he muttered, "The seal has been broken." Sixth Heaven HQ. God and his oldest child, Michael, were discussing the war and strategizing on how to win certain battles that Michael had predicted. Today was just nothing. It seems that even his greatest archangel can't think of a way to defeat Naruto. It amused the Almighty to an incredible amount to see his eldest tapping his feet and his brows furrowed, trying to come up with different battle scenarios and playing them out in his head, thinking of different outcomes for them to win. But none was ever an ideal condition for the archangel. God, deciding to interrupt so Michael wouldn't have a headache, reached out and gently placed his hands on Michael's shoulder. "Child, you need to rest, calm yourself." "But, calm yourself, child," and Michael did so, his emerald eyes still focused and guarded. When Michael was about to say something, a crushing aura of malevolent force hit the highest form of heaven, shaking the sixth heaven to near collapse. A force that dwarfed the power of his father, a raw and untamed source of power that defied the law of everything in Draconic Deus, the animalistic urge of that said power to destroy and consume all of existence, waiting to be unleashed, and now it is unleashed. But the power didn't destroy or consume existence, rather, it felt controlled. God also felt it, the same as his children, his sure that all of heaven sensed it, and even the other pantheons, because now, the abyss has been unleashed. And now God was sensing that the abyss was being contained, and Naruto's emotions were the key to mastering it. By focusing his entire emotions on his power, Naruto, in his 0.0000000000001% chance, managed to control and bend the abyss to his will. Truly a remarkable child. Now the last part has begun. The final part of the Great War, his and the four Satans' end, is reaching its conclusion. So it has been broken. Naruto jolted upright in his bed, his right hand instinctively moving to his head as he winced from the pain of awakening after 30 years in a coma. Taking a deep breath, he steadied himself, then threw off the blanket covering his body. His eye twitched in annoyance as he noted the difference in his physique. His once muscular frame was now replaced with a skinnier one. With a dismissive sound, Naruto dressed in the equivalent of casual clothing fit for a devil prince. After another deep breath to steady his nerves, he reached the door and swung it open. Stepping out of his room, he surveyed his surroundings before teleporting away from the castle. Lucifer's castle. Lucifer. Anxiety and nervousness coiled within Naruto as he entered the room where he sensed his family awaited him. After 30 years of being in a coma, he was preparing himself to meet them for the first time. The massive door swung open without a breeze, Naruto's black coat billowing with each step he took. His piercing heterochromatic eyes locked onto the extravagant dining room, where he spotted his mother, father, and little brother, their gazes meeting his own. His father's hair was now cut short, while his mother's tresses cascaded down nearly to her rear. Naruto's eyes then fell upon his brother, noting the light silver hair and hazel, almost gold eyes, where he could see the cruelty and madness lurking within Rizavim's sadistic gaze. With one final deep breath and a nod to Kakashi, Naruto fixed his family with a gaze that sent shivers down their spines. His eyes were now cold and calculating, though still retaining a tiny part of the sadistic brutality they once held. Lilith smiled a motherly smile nothing like Rizavim saw in his mother, he duly noted. "Naruto, my son, welcome back, you have been dearly missed," Lilith said as she made her way to his son and hugged him tightly. Naruto returned it with equal force. He truly missed both of his parents. "Is Z Dikarus Juwaitian stock? It's good to see you, son," Lucifer spoke in their native language, and Naruto replied using the same language as his father, Detpu is Alta, it's been a while, father. As Naruto went to his father and greeted him, he noticed that his father seemed less tense and on guard. What changed? That was the main question in Naruto's mind. Naruto turned and saw his younger brother getting up and meeting his eye. Once again, Naruto saw those eyes filled with nothing but madness and cruelty beyond comprehension. He remembered that he saw himself for a second in Rizavim, but shook his head. "Hello, little brother," Naruto greeted in a bland and emotionless voice. Rizavim looked at his elder brother and nodded as he went back to his food, not paying attention to the welcoming of Naruto. He was more interested in the war and how he could start to brutalize and rape the female fallen angels captured in the torture chambers. A dark smirk appeared on his face as malicious thoughts came to his mind. Something that Naruto noticed. Averting his eyes from his little brother, Naruto sat down in one of the chairs and ate silently while observing his family. After a moment, Naruto finished his meal and excused himself to train. "I will be going now, mother, father." Lilith and Lucifer nodded, and Naruto disappeared in a black and red swirl of darkness. Lucifer Training Grounds. The training grounds of the Lucifer estate were located on the outskirts of the estate. Large was not the word to describe it. It was larger than the Belial estate and much grander than the Bale family training grounds. From mountains to endless strewn forest expanses, and a barrier that can stop even the most powerful magic spell. As Naruto appeared on the training grounds, he saw his favorite place to be. Taking a deep breath, Naruto closed his eyes, and with a surge of demonic power, his eyes snapped open and transformed into blood-red irises. Black and red, crackling crimson, Naruto's aura was powerful and terrifying. Cracking his neck and concentrating his whole being into a singular point, Naruto extended his hands forward, a dark ball surrounded by a red aura. Naruto cocked his hand back and punched the sphere of the pure abyss, sending it toward the mountains that surrounded the training grounds. The sphere hit, but no explosions were made. It just erased it, completely. A smirk appeared on his face, satisfied with the outcome. Naruto fired the same sphere again and again until the training ground was reduced to nothing but a pile of rubble. Naruto released his true abyss, his true form of power surrounding him in a deep black and red aura, glowing with all the power in the world. He sensed that it was getting more potent by the day. Yes, this was Ith's power, the power he so desperately sealed away for 3,000 years, now released and swirling, melding with his form, radiating power beyond comprehension. Extending his hand once again, Naruto focused his power of true abyss into a life form, or an undead life form, while his other hand created a teleportation circle and summoned the bones of a long-dead dragon. He focused on the true abyss more and transferred the powerful magic into his other hand, holding the magic circle. As he closed his eyes, he remembered that the abyss isn't just to destroy or consume. It can bring beings from the dead. So, this was his first trial, making an army so powerful that some of them could rival gods and dragons. The bones of the dragons were huge and would have towered over the mountains if Naruto hadn't destroyed them, all bones that emitted a powerful aura. Naruto smirked as he remembered this particular dragon he killed 400 years ago, the greatest dragon and the third strongest dragon of his time, and Caligon the Black, and the Lord of the Winged Shadows. Naruto's eyes turned into red irises and replaced the white scale with a black one and glowed with power. Rise from the dead and serve me. Naruto raised his hand in a getting up gesture. The bones from the dead dragon began to shake and darkness and shadows danced around the bones of the dead dragon and began fusing with the bones. The ground and the whole structure of the dragon began to shake violently as the powerful dragon began to rise. The shaking stopped and the dragon stood up and revealed his dark shadowy form, glowing red aura, and pure glowing white eyes. The once huge dragon became even larger. The dragon spoke up in a deep and growling voice. You revive me now, I serve you as my liege lord, I pledge my new life to you. I am your fire that destroys everything you wish, my lord, and Caligon said as he bowed to Naruto, who mentally smirked. It seems that the revived beings will be loyal to the bone regardless of what he did to them. Perfect. You can now desummon, and Caligon, Naruto said as the Lord of the Winged Shadow began to dissolve in a dark swirl. Naruto was still in the training grounds after a solid hour of meditating and relaxing his soul, as he felt another signature just arrived in the destroyed training grounds. Naruto opened his eyes and stared at the person who was currently approaching him. He saw the familiar dark silver, and the eye patch and mask of one Kakashi Lucifuge. Before Kakashi could speak, Naruto had beaten him to it. What do you want, Kakashi? Kakashi I smiled upon hearing this and sat down to his right, staring at the sky in boredom. Nothing at all, my prince, he said nonchalantly. Naruto's brow began to twitch, annoyed at Kakashi's demeanor. As Naruto looked at Kakashi, he noted the armband on his left arm that said Assault Squad in their demonic language. It seems that in his absence, Kakashi took command of the strongest group of devils in his stead. Naruto was grateful in that regard. So you took over as High Commander of the Assault Squad, eh? Kakashi nodded, stood up, and put his hands in his pockets. Yes, your father, Lord Lucifer, tasked me to handle your squad when you were in a coma, Kakashi said. Naruto found it logical that his father wouldn't let the strongest squad just wait for him after all. His squad changed the direction of the whole great war in the devil's favor, by killing and destroying fallen angel cities and angel settlements in the underworld. Do you want it back? Now that you are here, the whole assault squad will be more powerful and nigh unstoppable, Kakashi said. But Naruto shook his head and replied, no, command them. That is my command to you as your prince. Kakashi said nothing as he walked away. However, Kakashi's danger senses alerted him, and he nearly got stabbed by the tentacle of darkness that was thrown by Naruto himself. Not bad, Naruto, Kakashi complimented as he took his stance and dashed forward. Kakashi's lightning magic crackled into his hands. Chidori Dragon Rush. As the dragon made of lightning roared toward Naruto, he created a defensive magical circle. The lightning dragon collided with the defensive circle, making a loud boom. Boom! Naruto's eyes glowed red as he created a massive magic circle and shot pure abyss darkness into Kakashi, who got slashed in the torso, drawing blood. Dark resonance. Naruto didn't give Kakashi any time to breathe as he quickly summoned his new dagger, Nightwalker, and Kakashi summoned his sword. The two met in the middle of the training grounds, blades clashed, and sparks flew everywhere. Clang! 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 Kakashi made a spinning axe kick that connected to Naruto's temple and sent the crown prince flying into the training grounds. Kakashi dashed toward Naruto's back and kicked him again, slashing his back with his sword enhanced with wind magic, spilling blood everywhere. Naruto grunted and turned himself into the darkness of the abyss, dashing from sight and reappearing with his hands now engulfed with his blood flames. He blurred into Kakashi's blind spot and delivered a right hook to his face, not relenting. He sent a barrage of punches covered in flames as Naruto kicked the now battered Kakashi away. Kakashi got up quickly and used his now more advanced healing magic to completely heal himself in minutes. He dashed forward, changing his direction to the shattered mountains to hide. He made a long string of chants and dashed forward to Naruto, who met him again. But Kakashi had a plan. The chant he made was designed to completely negate one ability of a devil he chose. When Naruto landed a blood flame infused punch, it was negated, doing 0 damage to Kakashi. Naruto quickly changed his plans and turned himself again into pure darkness, slithering through the training grounds. He used that, huh? Didn't think that Kakashi would have known that, Naruto mused mid-fight. He reappeared and summoned his other dagger, Fangs of Abyss, and slashed Kakashi's exposed body. Kakashi made sure to splash Naruto's face with his blood and gathered a huge amount of demonic power in his fist. Naruto widened his eyes as the punch landed right into his face, and the demonic power flashed black. Black flash sent Naruto barreling into the ground. Kakashi was now right in his face, and he was kicked again. All the wounds were healed instantly. It seemed that Naruto was still weakened after a long coma and unable to fight at his full strength. Growling in frustration, Naruto blitzed Kakashi with a straight kick into the stomach, grabbing the collar of Kakashi's attire and punching him, breaking his nose in the process. Kakashi healed almost instantly now, thanks to Black Flash, and readied himself as Naruto rushed him with his daggers. Kakashi, now in the zone, gathered an immense amount of demonic power into his fist and met Naruto. But Kakashi was shocked when Naruto used his darkness to extend the reach of his hand and punched first, sending Kakashi flying. Naruto successfully stopped Kakashi from hitting his second, Black Flash, disappearing and reappearing in the air, blurring toward Kakashi who was still recovering from the punch. Kakashi paid the price by getting hit in the stomach by Naruto's foot, which was covered with lightning magic. As Kakashi rolled again, wincing in pain, it seemed that Naruto was using his adaptation ability to find a weakness in Kakashi's magic defense. Naruto gathered a massive amount of demonic power and hit Kakashi with his own, Black Flash, shattering Kakashi's rib. Kakashi took to one knee and raised his hand in a surrendering motion. That attack was even more powerful than the previous one. Kakashi guessed that Naruto poured an ultimate-class demonic reserve into that punch, and by being raised by 2.5, it was able to shatter his ribs, causing him defeat. He also noted that the lightning magic used to stomp him helped with the overall damage that Kakashi took. It was a well-executed plan in his opinion. You've improved, my student, Kakashi smiled, and Naruto took the praise with pride as he helped his sensei to the ground. What is your plan regarding the current state of the Great War? We both know that our hold on the Dark Elves is shaky at best, Kakashi said, as Naruto nodded. The Dark Elves were a powerful variant of elves in DxD, and through him 1,000 years ago, he subjugated the 5th Dark Elf King, Lucifer. Now it seems that subjugation must be reinforced in a much more brutal manner than before. Naruto noticed his hands shaking. What was this feeling? He couldn't point a finger at it. He was never used to this feeling before. Naruto narrowed his eyes and gestured to Kakashi to leave him be for now, as the mentor of Naruto disappeared in a flash of white. Was this a feeling of fear? No, he doesn't fear anything in this plane of existence. Pity? It might be, but no, pity isn't it. So what is it? Why is he feeling this way? Why is he questioning the upcoming action he is about to take? Naruto was confused and desperate to find an answer, and quick. He might be thrown into the pits of madness if he didn't know now. Blowing a breath to steady his nerves, Naruto sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes to meditate and relieve himself of all his worries after waking up from a 3-decade-long coma. Throne room Lucifer's castle. Lucifer and Lilith were sitting on their respective thrones, waiting for Kakashi's arrival and report on Naruto's overall health. Lucifer, for the most part, was silent and focused, while Lilith was anxious and worried sick. Lucifer could understand Lilith's concern, even though he never cared for anything. He cared deeply for Naruto, his firstborn, in a twisted kind of way, so to speak. Lucifer, it's been an hour, and Kakashi isn't back yet, Lilith said in a worried tone, interrupting Lucifer's thoughts. Annoyed by the interruption, Lucifer looked at her with annoyance. I don't know, Lilith. It's only been an hour. Wait for him. I'm sure that the two are both fine, Lucifer replied, trying to calm his wife, even if only a little bit. The king of the devils returned to his thoughts. Now, Naruto was ready for action, and he could finally move his next plan ahead of schedule. He originally wanted his second son to lead the army, but after receiving reports from Kakashi, Ryzavan wasn't stable or sane enough for this mission. Lucifer knew his second son all too well. The brat liked to play with his opponents and violate women of any race. Honestly, Lucifer was repulsed by Ryzavan's actions. Yes, Lucifer may be an absolute ass and a cruel person, but even he never resorted to assaulting a woman. He could only imagine if Naruto caught Ryzavan indulging in his fun time. Lucifer was sure that Naruto would brutalize Ryzavan, even if they shared the same blood. Naruto was strictly against the prospect of violating a woman. It was in his nature, something Lilith had taught him from an early age. Suddenly, a white flash appeared in the throne room, and there stood Kakashi, his clothes damaged beyond repair, bloodied, and torn to pieces. What happened? Lilith questioned immediately, her voice taking on a worried tone. Kakashi straightened his posture as he spoke up to the Queen of all Devils. Your Majesty, Naruto is fine. As you can see, we had a little fight, and I lost, so overall, the prince is fine and even stronger than he was 3 decades ago. Kakashi's reply greatly satisfied Lucifer and calmed Lilith down. Lucifer stood from his throne and spoke up. That is certainly great news to hear. You are dismissed. Kakashi bowed his head and disappeared in a white flash. Lilith, call Ryzavim here now. Lilith nodded and teleported out of the castle to fetch her second son. After a moment, Lucifer saw the familiar magic circle of the Lucifer family, and out appeared Ryzavim, his hair a bit messy. Lucifer guessed that the brat had just woken up and readily teleported to meet him. You called father? Ryzavim said as he met his father's gaze. It seemed that his father was satisfied with something, a gaze he rarely saw. Lucifer walked to his son, stared him in the eye, and said, You are now relieved from your duty. The mission will fall under your elder brother's hand. Ryzavim's eyes widened in shock as he was confident that his father was still giving him the mission. But it seemed that his father changed his mind, and Ryzavim didn't like that one bit. He was here, and healthy. His elder brother is still in recovery, so why would his father give the mission to Naruto? Ryzavim composed himself before Lucifer even said anything. He spoke up once again. May I ask why? Ryzavim, through gritted teeth, ground out. You are not fit for this mission. You are impulsive and violent, and you are not thinking things through enough, Lucifer said as he glared at his second son. After all, Ryzavim would be the crown prince if Naruto didn't wake up from his coma, and Lucifer would rather kill himself than let his second son ruin everything that he had built. So the decision was pretty easy to make. He made a leave gesture to Ryzavim, who left glaring at his father. Kingdom of the Dark Elves Throne Room. The throne room was decorated in majestic blackstone enchanted with magic, and the throne was a majestic black on gold. Now a man was sitting here, with his long jet black hair, pointed ears, yellow on hazel eyes, and the palest face ever seen. The 60th leader of the Dark Elves, Malgar, son of Malekith, was sitting on his throne, his hands resting together in a contemplating manner. He now received the dreaded news that Naruto had awoken from his 3 decades-long coma, and it didn't bode well. His faction will have to pledge loyalty again. But Malgar was sick and tired of this subjugation, so he was going to declare for the Fallen, and hopefully the Fallen can give them the protection they needed. Malgar wrote to the Governor-General of the Fallen Angel faction, Azazel, to have an alliance. He was going to offer his daughter's hand in marriage to one of his cadres, and hopefully that would be enough to satisfy the Governor-General. He was now waiting for a reply. Malgar was snapped from his musings by the door being busted open, and his heir and eldest son Elmar walked into the throne room, his face carved in horror, as he delivered the news that Malgar dreaded. The entire assault squad and Prince Naruto have arrived at our city gates. They demand entry. Eyes widened, he shot up from his throne and said, What? Assault squad headquarters before the arrival at the Dark Elves Kingdom. A day had passed since the sparring session he had with Kakashi, and now, staring up at the tens of thousands of soldiers in his command, Naruto gazed at them all with his piercing gaze. Beside him was Kakashi, who was in his usual mood, being lazy but alert as always. Sensing the tension in the air, Kakashi whispered to Naruto, Are you sure you want to do this, my prince? Naruto looked at Kakashi for a second and nodded. His resolve shone in his eyes, which became sharper and more alert. I'm sure, Kakashi. Those fools had it coming by sending that letter to Azazel. I will show them why you always keep your word, said Naruto, and Kakashi nodded. Just making sure. Well, your concerns are appreciated and always welcome. Naruto faintly smiled, and Kakashi replied, You've grown in the time you were in your coma. Naruto let out a small laugh. We've kept them waiting long enough, Naruto. I think it's time to speak now, Kakashi said, reminding Naruto why he had gathered the assault squad. Naruto focused again on the gathered devils and cleared his throat as he began to speak, his voice bellowing strongly to the gathered members of the assault squad. My subjects, I have gathered you all here to tell you that today marks the end of the entire race of Dark Elves. By making a pact with Azazel, the current leader Malgar is now a traitor to our regime. We will show that fool why you shouldn't disrespect, let alone betray, me and the devil faction, he said. The whole group said nothing, they simply listened. They were trained by Naruto to do that, composed and emotionless. Gather your weapons, prepare your magics. In an hour, we will depart for Altraxa, the domain of the Dark Elves, and destroy it to the ground, Naruto shouted as he raised his fist, and the whole army shouted, Kyvrio Lyri Devilofshin! Long live the devil faction! All the soldiers shouted again and again as Naruto smirked and turned around, with Kakashi following him. Lucifer's castle, Naruto's armory. As the sun began to set, Naruto was drinking wine in his armory, accompanied by a servant. He was dressed in his battle armor, a black breastplate, shot with gold, and his dark gray tunic, with the addition of a shin guard for extra protection. His helmet, decorated in a unique pattern with horns coiling around the helm, was on his desk, and his hair was braided to keep his vision focused and not to distract him from battle. Naruto sensed a familiar signature approaching the armory. His father was coming to discuss something with him privately. He signaled the servant to leave, and the servant bowed and departed via teleportation. The door of the armory opened, and Naruto saw his father standing in the middle with his arms crossed, his red irises showing seriousness. Naruto braced himself for the impending conversation, knowing that his father's visits often carried weighty matters. With a nod of acknowledgement, he gestured for his father to speak, prepared for whatever news or counsel he would impart. Lucifer sat in the nearby chair and intertwined his fingers together, locking eyes with his son. You know that those insects wouldn't go down without a fight, right? Naruto nodded at his father's words. He knew the dark elves were a fierce breed of elves, the strongest kind of their kind. What do you suggest? Looking at his father and placing his wine on the table, Naruto asked his father. He knows the answer, after all. Anything that displeases Lucifer is either burned, crucified, tortured, or killed on the spot. That was only the method Naruto knows. Burn or pillage Altraxa first, then talk. Naruto raised a brow in interest. Well, that was predictable enough, he thought. Interesting. Before Lucifer could continue, Naruto spoke up. Why not rise of him? I'm sure that Brad is all too willing to do this mission. Lucifer eyed his son for a good moment, and replied, his tone of voice full of displease and disappointment. He is reckless, ill-tempered even for me. He thinks with his, and a fool overall. I don't know why he turned out this way. Then again, I mostly neglected him for the better part of 28 years. Naruto forced a laugh down as the words settled in. You seemed frustrated. Has Rise of him done anything to acquire your wrath? Naruto asked his father. Lucifer blew an angry breath as he crossed his arms to his chest. No, Rise of him didn't do anything, and precisely the brat hasn't done anything worthwhile. He indulges in his sins too much and parades himself like a fucking buffoon, Lucifer said. Chuckling, Naruto made his way to the door, grabbing his helmet during the process as he addressed his father one last time before leaving. Patience, father. Rise of him is only decades old. He has potential, and if he still hasn't changed. Naruto's eyes sharpened and bled crimson as he continued, his voice calm but as frosty as Leviathan's ice magic. I'll deal with it myself. With that, Naruto teleported out of the armory. Assault Squad Barracks. Minutes before arrival at Altraxa, Naruto was in front of a large army, and they were all wearing jet black armor and horned helmets. The helmets only revealed their eyes, nothing more, as they stood before the crown prince. Respect and admiration shone in their stoic demeanor. Turning around to address his troops one final time, Naruto's voice boomed throughout the gathered soldiers. Speaking in their native language, Naruto spoke. Kipples Bobum Nubtrath Ashmali Dekos Vingroth Likpal Dronos Ishigat. Remember yourself, remember what you fight for, and thou shalt not lose. The soldiers began roaring in excitement as they finally had their leader back, and now history will forever be changed by Naruto once again as they all vanished via teleportation. Altraxa, Kingdom of the Dark Elves. The devil troops appeared on the great walls of Altraxa, forming several lines that surrounded the walls, with commanding officers at the front of the soldiers. Kakashi, for the most part, followed Naruto as the prince of the underworld made his way to the massive gates of Altraxa. Naruto's eyes were focused and determined, but Kakashi noted the subtle, anxious, and hesitant movements of Naruto. These were subtle to the point that not even the commanders could see them, but Kakashi, having trained and helped raise Naruto, he knew his students well enough. As the 10 guards approached the battalion of devil soldiers, Kakashi sensed the uneasiness among them, as if something was bothering them. To Kakashi, that didn't sound good. Before he could think any further, he heard Naruto speak to the guards. Greetings, we're here to discuss some important matters with the Lord of Dark Elves, Malgar, Naruto said. The guards, with unease and wariness evident in their expressions, held their ground, refusing to grant Naruto and Kakashi entry into Altraxa just yet. As one of the guards spoke, he addressed Naruto formally and respectfully, as the 9 guards were terrified to even utter a single word to the crown prince as he saw those eyes bleed crimson and glowed. Your Majesty, I'm Turk, one of the Elven Imperial Guards. We understand the importance of such matters, but I'm afraid that the Kin Lord Malgar is not here at the moment. Turk tried to lie, but Naruto, who seemed amused by the lie, decided to humor the man. And where is he now? Turk's uneasiness was evident with every twitch of his body and subtle glances through the castle. He is in a meeting, far from Altraxa, with the Elven Lords. Naruto played along, nodding and sighing as Turk continued to talk bullshit and excuses through him. Honestly, Naruto was repulsed by the blatant lie that Turk was spouting. Glancing at the devil army he brought, Naruto made a hand gesture to prepare to fight if necessary. Looking at Turk again, Naruto replied, I understand, a shame, we have so much to talk about. Turk sighed in relief as the lie was in his mind being bought by the prince. He was about to speak once again when suddenly he felt his body detached itself from head to toe, and agonizing pain traveled through his entire form before he was claimed by death. Naruto looked at the corpse with indifference and said, pathetic, do you really think that I would fall for such an obvious lie? As the slashed body parts of Turk disappeared into the portal that Kakashi created, he heard the guards charging at him with an intent to kill, and he swiped his hands in a slashing motion as they were all cut in half easily. Looking at his surroundings, Naruto made sure that no evidence was found and burned the bodies with his blood flames, crossing his arms and patiently waiting for someone to notice his signature. And sure enough, about 2 minutes he saw Malgar and Elmar approaching him. So they noticed, and by the looks of it Naruto overlooked the fact that there were 11 guards, and it seems that one of them is Elmar. Clever boy. Malgar spoke, welcome, my prince, what brings you to Altraxa? I'm deeply sorry for my guard's decision. I'm sure we could deal with it without casualties, right, my prince? His voice was anxious and shaking. He hoped that the distress signal he sent to Azazel would reach in time. If not, then the whole Dark Elves race would be wiped out without a doubt. Ah, the great Malgar, the darker son of Malekith, it's great to see such a familiar face. Naruto's voice was jovial and to a point uncaring. Elmar rose a brow. It seems his father is backing down. Strangely, a moment ago his father was ready to confront Naruto, but it seems that his father was buying time for reinforcements to arrive. Clever, but what would the fallen angel faction really do against the force of nature that is Naruto Lucifer? Yes, it's great to see such a familiar face after many years, my prince, Malgar said as he forced a smile on his face. What can I do for you? My prince? Naruto eyed him and said, I received rather unpleasant news from my brother, that the Dark Elves have aligned themselves with the Crows, our enemies. Is that true, Lord Malgar? Malgar was stunned. Did Rizavim tell the Devil King and Naruto his plans? Only Rizavim knew about this, and he even suggested the plan to begin with. Was this all an elaborate play to fool them into rebelling against Naruto? He saw his son Elmar, who was looking at him, eyes wide from shock. It seems his son was also stunned by the revelation. Composing himself again, Malgar spoke up. We did nothing of sort, my prince. I assure you that. Maybe your brother heard Mummer's news. He was hoping that Naruto would buy it, but fate didn't seem aligned with him. Naruto's eyes became redder and emitted a strong eerie glow. Are you suggesting that my brother, my blood, lied to me? If so, Lord Malgar, tell me the reason why Rizavim lied to me, Naruto said, his jovial and uncaring tone gone, replaced with a tone of coldness. I don't know, my prince. Maybe it's jealousy and envy that you are the crown prince and not him, Malgar stammered out. But Naruto was not having it. Eyes blazing a molten crimson. It's Sairai Isildair, eyes at Itaisomori. Don't lie to me, you idiotic moron. Naruto spoke in his native tongue, though having studied Ethran, the ancient language of the Devil faction. Malgar only winced and became more fearful by the seconds as Naruto continues. Isildair Litrai Edi Evis Isa eyes. Lie to me again and I will kill you. Malgar was now fearing for his life. The Lord of Ravenelfs knew that if Naruto starts to talk in Ethran aggressively, he is pissed, and he tends to destroy or kill things if he finds it slightly irritating. As Malgar stammered out a reply, his son Elmar spoke up, glaring at the crown prince of the underworld. You don't have the right to talk to my father that way. I should remove your head for your behavior, Elmar gritted out, unaware of the grave he dug himself and his entire race into. Malgar was now regretting everything, from his alliance with Rizavim and his plans to defect from the Devil faction. Naruto, for his part, didn't look like he cared for the youngling outburst. He had much worse interaction with other races than this. This was tame compared to anything he had experienced in his lifetime. Lifting his arm up, Naruto backhanded the boy, sending Elmar to the ground as Naruto squatted down into eye level and spoke in a frosty tone. I don't think you quite know who I am and what I can do. Didn't Daddy Dearest told you all about me? Naruto smiled a smile that would even give Rizavim the creeps. Standing up, Naruto rounded and faced Malgar. His smile gone, replaced with a cold stoicism. He whispered something to Malgar's ears that sent the leader of the Dark Elves into despair. This is the price of betrayal, my lord. Extinction. Naruto then created a binding spell that tied father and son in place as he spoke with Kakashi. Round up all the Dark Elves, from youngest to oldest, line them up. Don't miss anyone or I will see to it that you are punished. Kakashi nodded dutifully as he signaled the army to start gathering the Dark Elves. Elmar looked up at Naruto, who met his gaze of hatred dancing in his eyes, as Naruto spoke up once again. And Kakashi, bring me Lady Edna, Naruto said as he dismissed Kakashi again. A foot smashed into Elmer's head, sending him crashing to the group as he watched Naruto order around his troops and round up his people. For a single moment he saw his father looking at him mortified. Was he wrong for defending his father and his people? Their pride as the strongest race of elves in existence was reduced into nothing. Minutes go by, but for father and son it seemed like it has been forever. But now they saw their people tied and restrained by the binding spell that Naruto put them all through. Edna was in the forefront of the gathered Dark Elves as he was placed there by Naruto himself. Naruto stepped forward, his gaze cold and unwavering. Lady Edna, he addressed her, his voice was stoic. Edna, a proud and formidable warrior, looked up at Naruto, her eyes defiant despite the bindings that held her. We only sought to protect our people, to find allies where we could. We did not wish for this conflict. Naruto's expression hardened. And yet you betrayed us. You made a pact with our enemies. This is the consequence of your actions. For the last time, Lady Edna gazed upon his family. A sad smile graced her lips as she was forcibly shoved down into the executive block. Malgar and Elmer's eye filled with tear of sorrow and hatred as father and son both bore witness to their wife and mother execution. Before anything could be done, Malgar spoke up, his tone pleading. Please, my prince, spare my wife, she has nothing to do with this. It was all me. Spare her, my prince, please. He shouted before he could beg for more mercy. Malgar was silenced by a soldier, as the said soldier kicked him hard right in the face. Silence. A Vapula clansman walked towards Naruto as he handed him his sword, Bloodweaver, a long sword of Naruto. It was forged in the hearts of the tallest volcano in the underworld. The blade was a mixture of Yuzuar steel, 1,000 times more durable and sharper than the normal underworld metal, mixed with Naruto's own blood, making the sword even sharper and poisonous. The blade was black, swirling with crimson. Naruto accepted the sword, the demon blade glinting in the light. He stepped closer to the execution block, his expression showing nothing but stoicism. As he eyed the father and son, this is the price of treachery. Any last words, Lady Edna? Naruto spoke, eyes stoic and unyielding. Lady Edna lived for her namesake, the defiant. Her proud and defiant eyes, she held her head high and looked at him. I hope you suffer for all eternity, Prince Naruto. I swore by the elven gods that you will suffer a horrible death. The Lady of Dark Elves declared. Her voice did not waver in the slightest. Naruto raised the sword, the air around them growing tense. Malgar and Elmer's cries of anguish filled the air, but Naruto's resolve did not waver. With a swift, decisive swing, the sword fell, and Edna's life was ended. For a moment, there was silence. The Dark Elves, bound and defeated, looked on in horror and despair. Malgar and Elmar were on the verge of breaking, their grief palpable. The head of Lady Edna rolled into the grief-stricken face of Malgar, as he looked at the head of his now-deceased wife. Kakashi, seeing this, flinched and looked away from the gruesome scene. He could not stomach this, it was too much. For his part, Naruto, after he swung the sword, flinched. The resolve he had faltered for just a moment, but Kakashi saw it. The shaking of his hand, Naruto's breathing pattern. It was clear to Kakashi that his student didn't enjoy his action, not in the slightest. He might give a cruel and a sadistic front for all to see, but Kakashi saw through that facade. Kakashi noticed Naruto whisper something to himself as he read his lips. Duty comes first before morality. Duty must come first before his personal bias, no matter the situation is. Duty before honor, duty before beliefs. Placing a hand to Naruto's shoulder, Kakashi spoke up. My prince perhaps could just imprison the rest? Kakashi suggested. No, the task is extinction, Kakashi. Our first duty as devils is to obey our king's command. My father and our race is to eliminate anyone who opposes us, Naruto said as he began to walk among the gathered prisoners. From youngest to oldest, he saw them, the hopeless eyes of the masses. Gulping, he gripped his sword tighter to calm his raging emotions. I understand, my prince. Kakashi resigned himself to the idea that he was about to wipe out an entire race of people. Glancing at the crown prince, he saw his fist tighten around the hilt of his sword. He's questioning his actions. For the longest time I've known him, he never questioned anything he did. He has changed. Whether it's for better or worse, I do not know, Kakashi thought to himself as he proceeded to command the army to stay back and guard the perimeters. Naruto stood over the Dark Elves, eyes closed, hands on the hilt of his sword. His nerves were everywhere as he contemplated his motives. Then he remembered his father's words, be decisive, don't let your personal feelings and beliefs cloud your judgment and your duty. He steeled his nerves as he raised his hands, and a large magic circle enveloped the entire race of Dark Elves, along with Malgar and Elmar, both father and son. Their eyes were dull and hollow, dead eyes that reflected their acceptance of their fate. Naruto's eyes blazed a molten crimson as a massive column of flames erupted from the magic circle. Screams of anguish and pain traveled throughout Altraxa. The screams of the old and the young, the cries of the Dark Elves, danced in Naruto's ears as he did his best to ignore the sounds of their suffering. Naruto remained motionless, his face a mask of stoic resolve as the flames consumed everything within the circle. The once vibrant landscape of the Dark Elves' homeland turned to ash, their ancient trees and sacred groves vanishing in the inferno. The air grew thick with smoke and the acrid smell of burning flesh. My prince, Kakashi said, his voice barely audible over the crackling of the dying fire. It is done. Naruto slowly opened his eyes, the crimson glow fading to reveal hollow and dead eyes. Kakashi was unable to bear the sight any longer, and heard Naruto's voice speaking to him. Gather the men, he commanded, his voice strained. We leave immediately. Kakashi nodded and relayed the orders. The soldiers, who had been standing guard at the perimeter, began to move out. Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi heard Naruto's voice as he walked towards the direction of the devil as he replied, yes, my prince? Did I do the right thing? Grigori, Fallen Angel Base. A day before the attack in Altraxa, Azazel walked calmly through the halls of the main base of the Fallen Angel faction, as he contemplated the news he had received from Lord Malgar. He was shocked that the Dark Elves would betray Naruto of all people, knowing his nature, but nonetheless he read through it, and sent out envoys to Altraxa in due time. Opening the door into his room, he saw Shemhazai leaning on the side, face completely focused in a frown. What do you want, Shemhazai? Azazel questioned as walked towards his seat. I heard the news that Lord Malgar has proposed a pact with us, Azazel. I think it's a bad idea to ally with our enemies, Shemhazai said as he faced Azazel, who seemed to think about what he said. Tapping his chin in thought, Azazel sat in his seat and intertwined his fingers together, eyes narrowed in thought. I know, but why would they propose an alliance with us if they know the repercussions of their action? We know Naruto, Shemhazai. We fought him, we know his personality. He wouldn't like if Malgar betrayed the devil faction. He will most likely take actions in his own hands. Azazel leaned back to his seat and sighed in exhaustion. Who knew that a simple proposal would be so damn stressful and troublesome? I know, that's why I'm suggesting that we don't take this offer of theirs. Prioritizing our people is far more important than a marriage pact, Shemhazai said to Azazel, who nodded but seemed put out by something as he grabbed a nearby goblet of wine and drank it down before replying to his vice-governor. He was too sober for this shit. And frankly, if it was up to Azazel, he would give Shemhazai the reign over the Fallen Angel faction. But alas, he was picked by Kokabil, Barakil, and Shemhazai as the Governor-General of the Fallen Angels. Azazel set down the goblet and looked Shemhazai in the eye. I agree, but we need to tread carefully, Shemhazai. An outright refusal could provoke Malgar and push him towards a more aggressive stance against us. He sighed, rubbing his temples in frustration. But you're right, our people's safety must come first. We need a plan that balances caution with diplomacy. Shemhazai nodded in understanding, knowing how delicate and dangerous this situation was. If someone from the Devil faction ever heard of this, well, let's just say that the Dark Elves would perish, and painfully at that. Lucifer wouldn't take any form of betrayal lightly. Look at what happened to the Western Vampire clan, led by Alric Draco Orlok, 450 years ago. They were killed and erased from existence by Naruto himself. He made sure that Alric and his people wouldn't survive the siege. He ensured that everyone who lived in the Western clan of vampires wouldn't live. I understand, but still, we need to inform the council about this. I want to know their opinions and insights on this situation, Azazel said as he stood up, walked to the door, and opened it. Glancing at Shemhazai once more, he continued, Don't worry, only the cadres will be attending the meeting, so rest assured that nothing will come out of this meeting. Azazel smiled at his longtime friend. Shemhazai returned the smile, though concern lingered in his eyes. All right, let's proceed then, he said, following Azazel out of the room. Fallen Angel Base, Council Chambers. A day before Naruto's attack in Altraxa, as they made their way to the council chamber, the tension between them was palpable. The other fallen angel leaders were already gathered, as Azazel and Shemhazai entered. Azazel took his place at the head of the table, looking at each leader in turn, from Gabriel to Kokabil, and he saw Shemhazai sat down next to him as he waited for a good 10 seconds before starting. Let's get started, shall we? Azazel said as he rested his hands on top of his head and wore a carefree smile. Gabriel nodded, and Kokabil grunted, gesturing for Azazel to continue. The Dark Elves, specifically Lord Malgar, have sent me a marriage pact that will align the Dark Elves with us, thus leaving their previous allies, the Devil faction, without access to the riches and supplies of Altraxa, Azazel stated as he observed his comrades' reactions. Gabriel was shocked, Shemhazai wore a neutral expression, and lastly, Kokabil smirked. Although not fully, Azazel could see the gears in Kokabil's mind turning and creating different scenarios and outcomes in his head. Azazel narrowed his eyes at Kokabil, who saw it and eyed him back. Well, give me your insight about this and how we should respond, Azazel stated as he leaned back in his seat. Gabriel raised his hand to give his opinion on the matter. We shouldn't accept this alliance with the Dark Elves. Even if Lord Malgar provides us with resources and manpower to sustain us for a while in this war, Naruto would likely take action first before we even know it, and that will likely backfire on us, Gabriel said as he finished his statement, and sat back down. Kokabil raised his hand, and Azazel gave him a nod to speak his mind. Lord Malgar and his Dark Elves are necessary for us to maintain our standing in the Great War. The number of the fallen has been on the decline since the battle 800 years ago, so I say we should accept this alliance. It will outweigh the consequences. If Naruto finds out, we will just deny ever being involved with the Dark Elves, he stated as everyone stared at him in bewilderment. Shemhazai composed himself first as he stood up from his seat and faced Kokabil. Shemhazai cleared his throat, his expression stern. Kokabil, we can't base our strategy on denial and deception. The risks are too high, and Naruto is not easily fooled. If he discovers our involvement with the Dark Elves, it could lead to us being wiped out, and that is a fight we are not prepared to take. Kokabil glowered at Shemhazai for pointing that out, as he already knew it. He just wanted an excuse to continue the Great War even further. Gabriel nodded in agreement as he echoed Shemhazai's opinion. I agree with Shemhazai, Kokabil. We can't risk our faction standing in the war. We are at our lowest point since the Great War started millenniums ago. Kokabil gritted his teeth as he growled out in frustration. His plan is not going well. Well, he could just create another if this meeting doesn't go his way. Shemhazai cleared his throat, his expression stern. Kokabil, we can't base our strategy on this alliance. The risks are too high, and Naruto is not easily fooled. If he discovers our involvement with the Dark Elves, it could lead to us being wiped out, and that is a fight we are not prepared to take. Kokabil glowered at Shemhazai, his frustration evident. Shemhazai, we are already on the brink of collapse. Without new allies, we won't even have the luxury of considering long-term consequences. This alliance is a risk we must be willing to take, Gabriel interjected, his tone firm. Kokabil, we can't gamble our entire faction's future on a shaky alliance. We need to find sustainable solutions, not temporary fixes that could lead to our annihilation. Kokabil shot back, and what sustainable solutions do you propose, Gabriel? Sitting back and waiting for Naruto to crush us? At least with the Dark Elves, we have a fighting chance. Azazel watched the heated exchange with growing concern. The room's atmosphere was charged with tension, as Gabriel and Kokabil glared at each other, neither willing to concede their point. Shemhazai tried to mediate. We need to think strategically, not emotionally. This decision could shape the fate of our entire faction. Kokabil's voice rose in anger. Strategic thinking won't matter if we're all dead because we hesitated. Sometimes, bold moves are necessary, and this is one of those times. Gabriel shook his head. Bold moves that could lead us to our doom are not bold, they're reckless. We need to be smarter than this. Azazel sighed deeply, realizing the group was more divided than ever. Enough, he said, trying to bring the discussion back to a more constructive tone. We need to weigh all our options carefully. This decision is too important to be driven by anger and fear. Shemhazai nodded, adding, we must approach this with a clear mind. Perhaps a compromise is possible, but we need to ensure that whatever path we choose, it is in the best interest of our people. Kokabil glared at him but remained silent, knowing that continuing to argue would not help his case. The council chamber fell into a tense silence as Azazel began to outline a plan that would take into consideration all the opinions and concerns raised. We will continue to gather information and prepare for all possible outcomes, Azazel concluded. This isn't a decision to be made lightly, and we must be ready for whatever comes our way. The council members nodded in agreement, though the atmosphere remained strained. As the meeting adjourned, Azazel knew that the true test was yet to come, and the unity of the fallen angels would be crucial in the days ahead. You know Kokabil's true intentions, Azazel, Shemhazai said as they were the last two in the chambers. Barakiel and Kokabil had left after the meeting was adjourned. Azazel blew a frustrated sigh, stood up from his chair, and walked towards the exit door of the council chambers. Glancing at Shemhazai one more time, Azazel addressed his friend and right-hand man. I know. He just wants to involve our faction in the squabbles of the devil faction and the conquest for power. Kokabil wants to defeat Naruto and, by extension, Lucifer. He is bloodthirsty and repulsive. I can only guess what he will do with this information now, and I pray to Father that he won't do something stupid. Azazel paused at the doorway, a pensive look crossing his face. We need to keep a close eye on him, Shemhazai. His ambitions could lead us down a dangerous path, one that we may not be able to recover from if things go wrong. Shemhazai nodded, in understanding. I agree. We must be vigilant and prepared for any eventuality. Kokabil's actions could put us all at risk, and we can't afford to be caught off guard. Walking along the path of the main base, Azazel contemplated what he will do next. The next move would decide their future. It will either make it or break it. Fallen Angels Base, Azazel's office. 18 hours before Naruto's extinction of the Dark Elves. Azazel sat in his office, the weight of the recent council meeting still heavy on his shoulders. The proposal from the Dark Elves loomed over him, a constant reminder of the precarious situation they were in. He knew he had to make a decision soon, but every option seemed fraught with peril. He picked up a quill and began writing a detailed report for the cadres, outlining the potential benefits and risks of the alliance with the Dark Elves. As he wrote, his mind wandered to the last time he had seen Naruto in battle. The sheer power and ruthlessness he displayed were a reminder of the consequences of crossing him. A knock on the door pulled Azazel from his thoughts. Come in, he called, setting the quill down. The door opened, and Penemu, one of his trusted aides, stepped inside. Azazel-sama, you called? She questioned as Azazel nodded in confirmation. Yes, I want you to send an envoy to Lord Malgar, and this letter also. I want to make sure that we are safe before we make a final decision in this matter, Azazel said as he stood up and gave the letter to Penemu, who accepted it and left without a word. Azazel returned to his seat and began writing a second letter. His mind wandered, pondering what the Dark Elves' response to his letter would be. As he continued to wonder, he didn't hear the door open and Shemhazai stepped in. Azazel, may I have a bit of your time? Shemhazai asked. Azazel looked up and signaled for Shemhazai to continue. I just checked the current state of our resources, and it's pitiful. Our allies are beginning to drop out and back away. We are losing resources and then, Azazel, Shemhazai said, frowning. Azazel sighed, set his pen down, and intertwined his fingers. It's expected. With Naruto being active once again, our allies and even our enemies are afraid. They know how Naruto changed the tide of the battle in their favor. The Angel faction is facing constant attacks from Beelzebub and Asmodeus, and the Norse faction, who allied themselves with the Angel faction, is being attacked by Leviathan. The three Devil Kings and their forces are pushing back the alliance of the Angel and Norse factions, Azazel said, continuing while Shemhazai frowned, and our faction is losing the favor of the Elf faction. With the constant attacks from both the Dark Elves and the Devil faction, their resources are now in the red zone, and their numbers are dwindling year by year, Azazel stated, now also frowning. Azazel leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling. The weight of their precarious situation pressed heavily on him. Shemhazai, the truth is, our standing in this great war is becoming more untenable with each passing day. Shemhazai nodded, his expression grim. You're right. We're stretched too thin, and our resources are dwindling. Our allies are losing faith in our ability to hold our ground. If this continues, we'll be isolated and vulnerable. Azazel rubbed his temples in frustration. The Angel faction and Norse faction are struggling, but they still have more support than we do. Our faction is on the brink of collapse. Shemhazai's frown deepened. We need to face the reality that we might not survive this war if things don't change soon. The Elf faction is now overwhelmed by the Dark Elves and the Devil faction. Their resources and numbers are rapidly depleting. We can't count on them much longer. Azazel nodded, feeling the weight of their situation. Our position is dire. The Great War has taken a toll on everyone, but our faction is suffering the most. We've lost too many good warriors, and our remaining forces are exhausted. Even our strongest allies are beginning to waver. Shemhazai sighed deeply. We need to find a way to stabilize our position. If we can't secure new allies or resources, we need to consider alternative strategies for survival. Otherwise, we'll be wiped out, and everything we fought for will be for nothing. We can't back out of the Great War, Otherwise, both the devil and angel factions will devour us from our roots, Azazel said, exhaustion evident on his face. And we can't forge new alliances. The Greeks are busy with their own war, the Celtic and Egyptian factions don't want to be involved in the Great War, and the Shinto are reclusive, and they don't leave their domain. Even the smaller factions are allying themselves with either the devil or angel factions because they can provide protection and resources that we can't. Shemhazai frowned, the gravity of their situation pressing down on him. Our options are limited, Azazel. We need to think outside the box if we're going to survive this. Perhaps we should consider consolidating our forces and resources, pulling back to more defensible positions. It might buy us time to regroup and reassess our strategy. Azazel nodded slowly. It's a start. We need to reduce our vulnerabilities and shore up our defenses. But pulling back could also signal weakness, inviting more attacks. We need to balance consolidation with showing enough strength to deter our enemies. Shemhazai nodded, agreeing with Azazel, and continued, send a letter to all fallen angel settlements in the underworld, order them to retreat and regroup at our main base. Shemhazai nodded and left the room to send the letters to the several fallen angel settlements in the underworld. Azazel watched Shemhazai leave, the weight of their dire situation pressing heavily on his shoulders. He turned back to his desk, resuming his work with a sense of urgency. Every moment counted, and he couldn't afford to waste any time. The future of the fallen angel faction depended on their ability to adapt and survive in this relentless war. Fallen Angel Faction Main Base. 17 hours before Naruto's attack in Altraxa, Penemu was walking towards the main hall of Grigori with the letter that Azazel gave her. She knows that if this war continues the fallen factions would be wiped out from existence. Sighing, she opened her personal office and grabbed a folder and put the letter in the empty folder, as she closed her office and proceeded to give the folder to the messenger. Give this to Lord Malgar. Be vigilant about this. Lord Azazel wouldn't want anyone knowing about this, only the cadres and me that have the information contained in this letter. Penemu said as the messenger nodded and left via teleportation circle. Sighing for the final time, Penemu teleported out into Grigori to manage her spy network. Unknown location. 17 hours before Naruto's attack in Altraxa, the messenger's teleportation circle was intercepted by an unknown figure. The messenger was confused and scared. This was the worst time to be kidnapped, as he was carrying the letter that Lord Azazel had asked him to deliver to the Dark Elves. I think you have something that I want, a voice said, stepping out of the shadows and grinning menacingly toward the messenger. The messenger fell onto his backside, seeing the figure revealed. A tall man with a pale face, long black hair, narrow blood-red eyes, pointed ears like an elf, and wearing a black robe with detailed accessories and purple shoulder pads with gold streaks on the side. His voice was laced with venom as he leaned in close to the messenger's face, a smirk plastered on his lips. The messenger was about to say something, but he was silenced by the man who placed his hand on his lips. I didn't say you could talk, boy. He grabbed the letter and read its contents, frowning and growling in anger. It took considerable restraint not to rip the letter into pieces. He pocketed the letter for later use, then turned back to the messenger, smirking. Well, I can't have this little interaction being known by my fellow cadres, right? Kokabil laughed, scaring the poor messenger more as he shivered under Kokabil's bloodthirsty gaze. Please, Lord, spare me, and I won't speak to anyone about this. Please spare me, Lord Kokabil, said the messenger as he bowed his head to the ground, pleading with Kokabil to spare him. Kokabil tapped his chin in thought. Very well, go on ahead, and don't think I wouldn't know if you decided to tell Azazel about this. Kokabil smirked as he turned around to leave. As the messenger sighed in relief and was about to create a teleportation circle to leave, Kokabil suddenly turned around and sliced the messenger in half, killing him instantly. Stupid, Kokabil muttered under his breath as he left in a flash of light. Fallen Angel Base. Kokabil's private chambers. 16:30 hours before Naruto's attack in Altraxa, Kokabil vanished, leaving behind the lifeless body of the messenger, and the faint scent of ozone in the air. He reappeared in a secluded part of the Fallen Angel Base, ensuring that no one had seen him. The letter now tucked safely inside his robes, he knew its contents could be used to further his own ambitions. Back in his private chambers, Kokabil carefully read the letter again, contemplating his next move. His thoughts raced as he considered how best to exploit the information to his advantage while keeping Azazel and the other leaders in the dark. He would need to act quickly and decisively, using this leverage to shift the balance of power within the faction. Kokabil's mind churned with possibilities as he paced the dimly lit chamber, his eyes gleaming with cunning. The letter detailed plans that could sway alliances and turn the tide of battle. He knew that revealing its contents prematurely could risk exposing his hand, yet he also relished the thought of the chaos it could sow among their enemies. Kokabil knew exactly whom to approach within the devil faction to sow discord and seize advantage. Rizavim Levan Lucifer, known for his penchant for chaos and manipulation. Knowing Rizavim well, Kokabil carefully altered the contents of the letter to make it appear as an outright betrayal. The Dark Elves were already betraying their alliance with the devil faction, evidenced by the letter that Malgar sent to Azazel, and Kokabil had created a copy of this letter as further evidence. This move could weaken the devil faction without them even noticing, as Kokabil knew Lucifer would react violently to this outright betrayal by the Dark Elves. Kokabil's plan unfolded with meticulous precision. He ensured that the altered letter carried explicit accusations and false evidence that would lead the devil faction to believe the dark elves had turned against them. As he sealed the forged letter with care, Kokabil felt a surge of anticipation. This deception could play directly into his hands, eliminating the dark elves and weakening the devil faction, while diverting their attention away from the fallen angel's own vulnerabilities. In the dimly lit chamber of the fallen angel's base, Kokabil paced back and forth, his mind consumed with the intricacies of his plan. He knew that the next move had to be precisely a delicate dance of deception and manipulation that could tip the balance of power in their favor. Kokabil turned to a devil messenger who stood nervously before him, awaiting instructions. The devil was chosen carefully, known for his loyalty to Rizavim and his discretion in matters of intrigue. Deliver this to Rizavim Levon Lucifer, Kokabil instructed, handing over the meticulously altered letter. Make sure he receives it without delay. This contains crucial information regarding the Dark Elves' betrayal of their alliance with the Devil faction. The Devil Messenger nodded, accepting the letter with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. He understood the gravity of the task entrusted to him, delivering a message that could ignite conflict and upheaval among their enemies. Understood, Lord Kokabil, the Devil Messenger replied, bowing slightly before turning to leave. As Kokabil awaited the unfolding consequences of his deception, he contemplated the ripple effects with a mixture of satisfaction and caution. If his plan succeeded, the Devil faction would be thrust into turmoil, grappling with the revelation of the Dark Elves' betrayal. Kokabil knew this would incite Lucifer's wrath, potentially diverting their attention and resources towards internal strife rather than focusing on their external enemies. In the dimly lit chamber where he schemed, Kokabil paced thoughtfully, plotting his next moves. He understood the precariousness of his position. While the chaos he orchestrated could weaken their adversaries, it also posed significant risks. Any misstep could expose his involvement, and turn both the Devil faction and the Dark Elves against the fallen angels. Yet, Kokabil's ambitions outweighed his concerns. He saw this moment as an opportunity to not only weaken their enemies but also to position himself and the fallen angels favorably amidst the shifting dynamics of the Great War. The potential gains were immense if he could navigate the ensuing chaos strategically. Devil faction, Lucifer's castle. 14 hours before Naruto's attack in Altraxa, the Devil Messenger hurried through the labyrinthine corridors of the castle, clutching the letter from Kokabil tightly in his hand. His heart raced with a mixture of excitement and trepidation as he approached Rizavim Levon Lucifer's private chambers. The guards stationed outside Rizavim's door eyed him warily, recognizing him as a messenger for Kokabil, and Rizavim allowing him to pass without interference. The Devil Messenger took a deep breath to steady himself before knocking on the ornate wooden door. Enter, came Rizavim's commanding voice from within. The Devil Messenger pushed the door open slowly and stepped into the dimly lit chamber. Rizavim sat at a grand desk, surrounded by parchment scrolls and ancient tomes, his piercing gaze fixed upon the messenger as he approached. I bring a message from Lord Kokabil, the Devil Messenger announced, bowing respectfully and extending the letter towards Rizavim. Rizavim's eyes narrowed slightly as he took the letter, breaking the seal with a flick of his fingers. His expression remained unreadable as he scanned the contents, his mind already calculating the implications of the information within. After a tense moment, Rizavim looked up from the letter, his lips curling into a cold and sadistic smile. Interesting, he murmured, more to himself than to the messenger. The Devil Messenger shifted nervously under Rizavim's intense scrutiny, waiting for his response. Tell Kokabil that his information is duly noted, Rizavim finally said, his tone calm yet tinged with a hint of amusement. You may leave. With a bow, the Devil Messenger quickly retreated from the chamber, leaving Rizavim alone with his thoughts. As he closed the door behind him, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had just witnessed the beginning of something momentous, a spark that would ignite new conflicts in the ever-escalating war between heaven and hell. Rizavim stood alone in his chambers for a moment, contemplating the implications of the letter he had just received from Kokabil. His mind raced with possibilities, each one presenting an opportunity to further his own ambitions and undermine his enemies. Without hesitation, he folded the letter neatly and tucked it into the inner pocket of his robe. Leaving his chamber with purposeful strides, Rizavim made his way through the labyrinthine halls of Lucifer's castle. He passed by various demons and advisors, all of whom bowed respectfully as he walked past, acknowledging his status as the son of Lucifer himself. Lucifer's castle, throne room. 14 hours before Naruto's attack. Arriving at the grand throne room where his father held court, Rizavim found Lucifer seated upon his infernal throne, surrounded by his most trusted advisors and generals. The atmosphere in the room was tense, as reports of ongoing battles and strategic maneuvers were discussed in hushed tones. My lords, father, Rizavim began, approaching Lucifer with a deferential bow. I bring urgent news regarding our alliance with the Dark Elves. Lucifer's piercing gaze fixed upon his son, his expression betraying none of the emotions that simmered beneath the surface. Speak, Rizavim, he commanded, his voice resonating with authority. With a practiced flourish, Rizavim produced the letter and handed it to his father. I've uncovered evidence of the Dark Elves' betrayal, he explained calmly, knowing the weight of his words. Lucifer accepted the letter, his eyes scanning its contents with unwavering focus. As he read, a faint frown appeared on his brow, a rare sign of concern. The implications of the Dark Elves' treachery were not lost on him. The potential for disruption in their carefully orchestrated alliances was significant. After a moment of contemplation, Lucifer folded the letter and placed it on the armrest of his throne. His gaze shifted from the letter to Rizavim, his expression unreadable yet laden with intensity. "Thank you, Rizavim," he said finally, his voice a low rumble that reverberated through the throne room. Rizavim inclined his head respectfully. "It is my duty, Father," he replied, masking his own ambitions behind a facade of loyalty. Lucifer nodded, dismissing his advisors with a wave of his hand. As the room emptied, leaving only father and son in tense silence, Lucifer's piercing gaze fixed upon Rizavim. "Leave me," he commanded in a low, authoritative voice. Rizavim bowed respectfully and retreated from the throne room, leaving Lucifer to ponder the unfolding events alone. In the quiet solitude of his throne room, Lucifer sat upon his infernal seat, his thoughts engulfed by the revelation of the dark elves' betrayal. The chamber was dimly lit by flickering torches, casting dancing shadows across the ornate walls adorned with depictions of ancient battles and triumphs. With a deep, brooding stare, Lucifer traced his fingers along the edge of the letter Rizavim had delivered. The parchment felt brittle beneath his touch, a stark contrast to the turmoil raging within him. His mind replayed the implications: betrayal, deceit, the erosion of alliances carefully woven over centuries of diplomacy and strategy. A low growl escaped his lips, the sound echoing through the cavernous room. His grip tightened on the armrests of his throne, claws digging into shadows. Anger smoldered in his eyes, flames flickering within their depths as he considered the consequences. "The dark elves dared to turn against us," he muttered darkly, his voice carrying a weight of centuries-old authority and fury. "After all we have offered." Memories flashed before him: battles won, alliances forged, and the blood spilled to maintain their dominion. The dark elves had been a crucial piece in their strategy, their shadowy prowess complementing the devil faction's strength. Now, that delicate balance was shattered. Lucifer's mind raced with strategies: retaliation, retribution, and the cold calculations of war. Yet beneath the fury burned a resolve. He would not allow this betrayal to go unpunished. The dark elves would learn the price of treachery, and the devil faction would destroy Altraxa through fire and blood. As he sat in contemplation, Lucifer's generals and advisors waited outside, sensing the storm brewing within. They knew better than to interrupt their lord in moments of such wrathful deliberation. Only the crackling of torches and the distant echoes of hell's infernal landscape dared to accompany him in his solitude. The grand chamber resonated with the weight of impending conflict, as Lucifer plotted the course that would redefine the Great War. And what if Naruto has Lucifer bloodline in high school DxD? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.